Hello, everybody. I believe we're live streaming. We'll have our folks that's kind of checking up on us to make sure I've got all the right buttons pushed. But it is so good to have everybody with us tonight. Those of you listening by Power Faith Radio, we thank you so much for coming this way. Nope, none of the groups have texted us yet, but I'm looking for them to text us here shortly. But we're so glad to have everybody else listening through Power Faith Radio. If you're watching one of the videos tonight via our two Facebook pages, A Simple Walk or B'nai Noach Fellowship, we thank you so much for coming this way. Ask those questions, give us a thumbs up, and we'll be glad to try to respond to all those questions. If you're watching us by our sponsorship, we're sponsored by Outreach Noah. You can go to YouTube and type in Outreach Noah. We'll come on up. You can go ahead and subscribe to that while you're there. Hit that notification bell that you'll be notified every time a new video goes up. Send us an email to outreachnoah@gmail.com and go to our webpage. Terry he does some great stuff on that, some great articles, and that's outreachnoah.com. Did I cover everything?
I think you got it all.
Okay.
No, wait a minute. Now, what's your new one now? Can you got a new one?
I'm not live streaming on it tonight, but
okay.
I don't have. There's like 20 people listening right now, and they're right in the middle of Gunsmoke or the Long Ranger. They're right in the middle of Long Ranger, and I don't want to kill their Long Ranger.
You might make them mad.
Yeah, it's somebody talked to me here a while back and said, okay, now your radio stations, I want to send you some product to put on there. And so anybody can go on there at any time they want to and listen anytime they want to. I said, no, it doesn't work that way. You can listen to the radio station, but we are an old time radio station. You know, when you used to sit around by the table and everybody listened to the radio, Long Ranger, Gunsmoke, all those. So we're having that up and running, and it's going to deal with local items. Was just talking about that we've got a manager of some t-ball for little kids. They're going to start broadcasting with us and just talking, and it's all let's see, how can I put that? It's all volunteer work. And if anybody, wants to donate, and I have had people already donate to it to help out on it, but we don't charge anything. If somebody says, hey, I'd like to put my store in there on a commercial, and one of the stores, well, I'm getting into something I shouldn't get into, but anyway, if they hook up, then they're going to give us so much. For everybody that comes in and says, we heard about you on WAMC. So there we go.
That's cool. I know you've been about a year working on that. So.
When I first started Power Faith Radio, it took me a year to get all the database built up and all that stuff put together, and then get it broadcasting, and so now I got one computer running 2 radio stations, and so does my eyes get tired?
There you go.
All right, Terry, if you'll go ahead and greet everybody, I'm going to get ready for our Tzedakah time.
All righty. Of course, we have Scotty there in the engineer room controlling everything and keep making sure we stay on and don't go in the dark.
And I don't hit the wrong button, right?
Hit the wrong buttons. I'm gonna rub that one in just about like you do with snow. All righty, and we got Ronald and Bob, and well as back with us tonight. Warwick's back with us tonight. Glad to see y'all. And then Will, and then Amanda's joining us tonight. And Fred, Fred's probably still at work and listening to us at work. And then Annie, of course, Scotty's better half, and Wendell. And like we've always said, if you're listening via the live stream in any of the Facebook groups or the YouTube channel, you're welcome to go over and click the link and come into the Zoom room. You don't have to be on the camera, but if you want to be in the Zoom room with us, you're welcome to come anytime and just join in with us. Just want to appreciate everyone that's here tonight, that's joining us on the see what's on A Simple Walk, and then on B'nai Noach Fellowship, our YouTube channel, and see Power Faith Radio as well. Just welcome everyone again tonight, and thank you for joining us. Scott, you about ready?
I am ready. I am ready. I like Will's background. That looks like East Tennessee to me. You're muted, Will, but that looks like East Tennessee to me. I can tell East
It is.
Tennessee.
It stole from Smoky Mountain Hurley's website.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that. I love that. I don't know if any of you saw, we've had quite a few rains here
Mhm.
the past couple of days, and Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge got flooded. The aquarium at Gatlinburg was actually shut off for a while. The river got up and come out in the road, cleaned all the trash out of the way. So, but anyway, but I think it's went down. You know, it goes down pretty fast. But anyway, so good to have everybody with us tonight. We're going to use this Sadaka box tonight. It was sent to us a couple years ago, and we're going to tell you who sent it to us here just in a minute because they're in our blessed memory tonight. So we thank everybody that has participated and will participate in our Sadaka time. Listen, you don't have to send us any money. Just send us names, and we'll make sure that we give a dollar for that Sadaka, and then we give that to charity for their need. If they have a need, a blessed memory, we'll add that to that. So we're going to get started in it tonight. First of all, we always give Sadaka for Terry and I's teacher and his wife, Pesach Shirbo in Sfat Israel, and Shira Sherbo. So we're giving Sadaka for them tonight. Also, the Stewart family, we're remembering them tonight in their tragedy, what they're going through, but we're remembering them tonight. Also,
How are they doing, Scotty?
I haven't got to talk to them in the past, since I guess about 7 or 8 days.
Okay.
But I'm going to try to check on them tomorrow, see how everything's going.
Okay.
And then we've got Wendy Shepard giving Sadaka tonight for Wendy Shepard, and also giving Sadaka tonight for Chrissy Seaton Thompson, giving Sadaka for her tonight. I believe she's getting back up to par because I noticed she's doing a couple videos again, but we're still going to keep her for a little bit longer. Also, Larry, what would you about to say something?
Yeah, I spoke to Chrissy the other day. She's doing a lot better.
Great.
And she did have a nice, reasonably length conversation with Wendy Shepherd.
Oh, yes.
Oh, great.
Not a lot of news, but it was a good, she was feeling a bit better, getting back to herself. So, yeah.
Great. All right. Great. Good deal. We're giving Sadaka tonight for Larry Stewart, and also for Robert Sweet. We're giving Sadaka for Robert Sweet tonight, and also Veronica Port. Veronica came in just before we started tonight, but she's in a place tonight. You know, she's our wandering goy. She's traveling across the United States, and or at least the biggest portion of the southeast or eastern somewhere. No, it's not south. She just traveling all over the eastern, right?
Yeah,
And
she's still down in Georgia somewhere, I think, ain't she?
yeah, she texted me earlier, and I think it was yesterday, and said she was in a place that she didn't have great internet connection, and so I went ahead and sent her the link prior to the class tonight, and she was surprised she got it. She tried to come in, and then all of a sudden she was gone. So that down, some in places it's like a wave. You'll get it and you don't. So, but we're giving, somebody always sends in Sadaka for Veronica Port, and also Amuela. This is your dollar going into the charity box tonight. And also they send in a dollar for Thomas Schaus. And then also Warwick, we still have you on our Sadaka list. We're still continuing to pray for you. And also Nadine Akins. We've got her in our Sadaka list tonight. Let's see if I can get that on in there. I think I can. And then also Ronald Dickman. You look pretty good, Ronald, tonight. How you doing?
Yeah, I've been pretty good basically the last few weeks. I get a few hours here and there in a day where I crook to pretty crook, but most of the day I'm being fine, which is really good.
All right. Now I noticed that Wendell does not have his camera on, and that's okay, Wendell. You don't have to put your camera on. But I just want you to know that we're giving Thanksgiving tzedakah for your wife, Mary Parsons, and health in her shoveling her snow this winter. So we're giving that. Not, he's about to tell me something.
Well, she didn't have to do too much shoveling.
Oh, wait a minute. Does that mean she shoveled snow?
Oh, she certainly did.
Bless her heart.
You know,
Okay.
Scotty, if she ever meets you, she's going to use that shovel rather than the snow.
Yeah. She'll be the one walking up to me with a shovel in her hand.
Yeah.
So,
You know, she might have some snow in it, just dump it on you.
yeah, that'd be quite all right. So tell her we're always thinking of her, Wendell. And in our blessed memory tonight, we have a gentleman who touched many Noahide hearts. I'll never forget the first time I met him. He has the same last name as I do, but we were not kin, but we had the same last name, and so we hit it off. I've got some pictures of him where he traveled here for a banquet, and we met and went out to eat, and we just had such a great time. And so he's in our blessed memory tonight. His birthday was just a few days ago, and we were sent. This was his tzedakah box, and we were sent this. And the family wanted us to have it, so this was sent to us, and so we're giving blessed memory tzedakah for Richard Helton tonight. Richard Helton, a great.
I missed those 3 and 4 o'clock ding ding dings on my phone.
Yeah,
my wife, she goes, "Can you remember to turn your phone notifications off before you come to bed?"
Yeah, he
lived out in California, so. Was that about 3 hours difference, for 3 or 4 hours difference from us? So he's always sending us these videos or messages. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, you hear going ding, ding, ding. Goes, "Who's that?" I said, "Richard."
Yeah, that's what that's. Yeah. So, yes. So he's a great Noahide, and he helped a lot of Noahides, and so he is greatly missed. And so thank you, Richard, for what you helped all of us with. Let's spend some time just in prayer, just for a few minutes, if you would. Hear our voice, Adonai, our God, Father of mercy. Have compassion on us and accept our prayer with compassion and favor. For you are a God who hears prayers and supplications, our King. Do not send us away empty-handed. Favor us and answer us and listen to our prayers. Amen. All right, Terry. Are you about ready?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, I'm going to put you on speaker view, and I'm going to mute myself, and you just go ahead.
All right. Again, greetings, everyone. Tonight we're on page 51 of our book. It's chapter 2 in the section on the gate of prophecy. Tonight we're going to be learning about the various levels of prophecy. We have a few more chapters left of this particular gate, and Scotty and I were talking before we start the next gate. We discussed several weeks back about doing another Q&A here in January. So I'm going to try to get over the next few weeks, get these next few chapters done. And before we start the next gate, we want to do another Q&A. Scotty's been collecting the questions and things and putting things together. And so if you had any questions that's come up over the last few teachings and few weeks and stuff, since we've done our last one, just make sure you get them to Scotty. He's like I said, he's got through the radio. You can contact him through the radio, email. Is it email Scotty through the radio on there? And then of course, email through our website at outreachnoah.com. And through our Facebook groups, you can message it, Scotty, there and get the questions there.
So
Go ahead.
If I can say, I'm sorry, Terry, if I can say real quick, through the radio, they message us. The email is powerfaithradio.
Okay.
At bellsouth.net. And it's on the station. If you're listening on now, not all devices, you have to download an app to get this, but the majority of the devices that are listening, which are phones and satellite phones and things of that nature, there's a button there, and they can email us and send us the questions on in.
Okay. All righty. We're going to start here again on page 51 in our 7 Gates of Righteous Knowledge, various levels of prophecy. So there are many levels among the prophets, just as there can be one person who is greater than another in wisdom. Likewise, one person can be greater than another in prophecy. All but the greatest of prophets only received their prophecy in a vision, in a dream, at night, or during the day, when a great trance falls upon them, as it says, in a vision, I will become known to him, and in a dream, I will speak to him. That's in Numbers 12:6. I wanted to read from Hirsch what he has to say about that. Rabbi Simpson, Raphael, Rabbi Hirsch says in verse 6, he said, "Hear now my words. If he were a prophet, then God, I would make myself known to him in a vision, and I would speak to him in a dream." And Rabbi Hirsch comments on this. It says, in two respects, the prophecy of the prophets does not come directly, but intermediate by intermediation, objectively and subjectively. Objectively, the divine, which is revealed to the prophet, is not shown to him directly, but in a reflection to him as in a mirror, and the prophet perceives the one revealed to him according to the vision in which he reveals himself to him. Subjectively, he does not receive the prophecy in a normal wakeful state in which he is active and in conscious control of his faculties, but rather he is capable of hearing God's word only in a dreamlike state, and after he awakes, he ponders over it and absorbs it. The divine comes down to him indirectly and raises him up out of a normal state so that God's word will reach him. For these two reasons, his moral sense life can run its usual course, and no restrictions need to be imposed. And what by that means is, like with Moses and in certain prophets, they had to live a certain moral life that allowed them to hear the voice of God speaking to them. For these two reasons, his moral sense of life can run its usual course, meaning he can be married. Like he can be married and have marital relations and things that's normally done in a marriage, that which God restricts when it gets to the level of like Moses, which we'll talk about later. It says, when Rabbi Weiner continues, says, when they receive their prophecy, their limbs shake, their body becomes weak, they lose their senses, and their mind becomes clear to understand what it sees. This is what it states concerning Abraham. And a great dark dread fell over him. Similarly, the prophet Daniel described his condition when a vision appeared to him. My appearance was horribly changed, and I retained no strength. That was in Daniel 10:8. They do not have prophecy whenever they want. If they desire to receive a prophecy, for themselves or someone else, they need to direct their minds to God and sit in seclusion with the feelings of happiness. For prophecy does not come to rest on a prophet while he is sad or lethargic, but rather only when he is happy and joyful. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov talks quite a bit about the power of joy and happiness, in your connection with the Creator. Therefore, when the prophet Elisha needed to receive a prophecy, but his mind was agitated, he called for a musician to play for him to settle and uplift his mood. Then he would be able to prophesy, as it says, it happened that as the musician played, the hand of God came upon him. And that was in 2 Kings 3:15. Page 52. All the prophets experienced their prophecy in a dream or a vision, whereas Moses would receive his prophecy while he was awake, lucid, and standing. As it said, Moses came into the tent of meeting to speak with him, and he heard the voice speaking unto him. And that is in Numbers 7 and verse 89. I'll go back to Rabbi Hirsch because he's had some interesting things here to say about that. He says here in verse 89 in his Chumash, and when Moshe went unto the tent of the appointed meeting to speak with him, he heard the voice speaking to him from above the cover that was upon the ark of the testimony, from between the two cherubim. Thus did he speak to him. And Rabbi Hirsch, he says here, it says that God's word is heard by Moshe, not by virtue of special personal relationship. You'll find this interesting. God's word is not heard by Moshe, not by the virtue of a special personal relationship of Moshe and God, but rather by the virtue of God's covenantal closeness to Israel. Moshe was able to stand in front of the Creator for the covenant closeness of Israel. As it is expressed that God sends his word to Moshe because he dwells in the midst of the people that keeps his Torah. So I found any comments there, Scotty? Where'd Scotty go? He disappeared. Oh, there's Scotty. he's got his camera off on me. I caught you. You was hiding. Anything there before I go on to the next thing, Scotty? Everything good? Okay. You can go hide now. There you say you went. All righty. Furthermore, divine insight, the Ruach HaKodesh, is bestowed through the agency of an angel and is perceived as metaphoric imagery and allegories. But Moses, our teacher, would receive prophecy without the agency of an angel bringing it to him. The Torah testifies to this about him. God would speak to Moses face to face as a man would speak to his fellow. And a mouth to mouth do I, God, speak to him in a clear vision and not in riddles. At the image of God does he gauge. It's in Numbers 12:8. In other words, the prophecies of Moses were direct communications to him from God without being crouched in metaphors and allegories. And he would receive God's statements directly and fully. His prophecy would be through direct and open revelation, and he would appreciate the matters in its fullness. Other prophets are overawed. They're overawed, terrified, and confounded by revelations they experienced. The response of Moses, our teacher, was not in that manner, but rather as quoted above, as a man would speak with his fellow. Just as a person will not be awestruck from hearing from his friend's words, Moses' mental power was so broadly sufficient that he was able to receive and comprehend God's words to him while he was standing in a composed state of mind. Unlike other prophets, when Moses desired the spirit of Ruach Kodesh, the spirit of Ruach Kodesh would envelop him and prophecy would rest upon him. He did not have to concentrate his attention to prepare himself for prophecy because his mind was always consecrated, prepared, and ready to appreciate spiritual truth, just as the angels are. Moreover, he could receive a prophecy and relate it to others at all times. As he said, to those who need to hear from him and answer from God, stand and I will hear what God will command you. Moses was called upon God to be continuously prepared and ready to communicate with him. As it is stated, and God said to me, go, say unto them, return to your tents. But as for you, stand here with me, and I shall speak to you. This means that after the divine revelation of God speaking of the Ten Commandments at Mount Sinai, departed from all the rest of the people there who had been experiencing the state of prophecy while hearing God's voice, they returned to their tents like all other prophets, i.e., their personal bodily needs and mundane activities. Therefore, they did not continue to separate themselves from marital relations with their spouses. Moses, our teacher, however, never returned to his original tent. He remained in a ready state of holiness to receive God's speech at any moment. So he necessarily had to separate himself permanently from his wife. He had bound his mind continuously to God, and the Ruach HaKodesh was never fully departed from him. He's still hidden. Anything there, Scott, before we go to the next? Because I know that was quite a mouthful right there.
No, you're doing good. You're doing good.
Okay. There he goes again. Watch him. He's going to hide. Oh, that's just an interesting picture that Scotty has up when he goes dark. Kind of reminds me of another one of that. We was talking about that earlier. Another one of those 80s videos from the music videos. Kind of reminds me of that. All right, continuing on the second paragraph, page 53. There is the possibility that a prophet will experience prophecy for his own sake alone, to expand his mental capacities and to increase his knowledge, allowing him to know more about lofty spiritual concepts than he knew before. It is also possible that a prophet may be sent by God to one of the nations of the world or to the inhabitants of a particular city or a province to prepare them and to inform them of what they should do or to warn them against continuing the grave sins which they have been doing. When he is sent on such a mission, God provides a sign or a wonder for him to perform publicly so that the people will know that God has truly sent him and the message that he relates was given by God. However, not everyone who performs a miracle should be accepted as a prophet, for that is not the criteria that Torah law sets out. A person who raises a claim to prophesy in the name of God should be accepted only if it is known beforehand that he is fit to receive the prophecy, that his wisdom and his good deeds are exceptional and consistent with the ways of Torah. If he follows the paths of prophecy and holiness, separating himself from worldly pursuits, and afterwards he states that he was sent with a message from God, and he performs a sign or a wonder, it is a Torah-based obligation to accept that message. It is also possible that a person who is wise and who seems to have righteous stature and fitness for prophecy in God's eyes will perform a sign or a wonder, even though he is not a prophet sent by God. And the miracle will have another motivation behind it. For example, in answer to his prayers. According to the same obligation from the Torah, we must heed that a person like this is telling us and accept his statements are true. That can be explained with a parallel concept, which I'm going to get into this section here after I finish this paragraph. We're going to take and we're going to look at the Rambam, Rabbi Moshe Maimonides' laws of the foundation of Torah here in just a moment. It's going to talk a little bit more about that. It says the Jewish courts are commanded to render a legal judgment based on a testimony of two witnesses, even though they might be testifying falsely. Since we know them to be accepted as witnesses and they are undisputed in this matter, the Torah law instructs us to presume that they are telling the truth. About matters of this nature, it is stated, the hidden matters are for the eternal, our God, but what is revealed to us and our, to our God, but what is revealed is for us and our children. As it is stated, man sees what is revealed to his eyes, but God sees into his heart. And that was 1 Samuel. Now I want to go to the Rambam, and actually it was only going to cover a little bit in chapter. Hold on, let me flip it over here. Oop, wrong book. It was going to, in our book tonight, it just was going to cover a piece section of section chapter 2 out of, chapter 8, section 2. Move my highlight. Let me come back over here. 57. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. In chapter 8, paragraph 2 is what it is covered up here in our reading, where it was saying that according to the same obligation of the Torah, we must heed what a person like this is telling us and accept his statements that are true. And what we're going to do is we're going to understand what that statement right there means by the ruling of the Rambam. But I'm going to go back actually at the beginning of chapter 8, and I'm going to read section 1 and piece here in section 2. Anything before I get into the Rambam? Okay. In chapter 8 of what's called Hilkot Yesodi HaTorah, or the foundations of the Torah, in the first section here, in chapter 8, the Rambam writes, the Jews did not believe in Moses, our teacher, because of the wonders that he performed. For whenever anyone believes belief is based on wonders, he has misgivings because it is possible to perform a wonder through magic and sorcery. I'll read that again. The Jews did not believe in Moses, our teacher, because of the wonders that he performed. For whenever anyone's belief is based on wonders, he has misgivings because it's possible that those wonders came through sorcery or magic. All the wonders performed by Moses in the desert were not intended to serve as proof of the legitimacy of his prophecy, but rather they were performed for a purpose.
So when you get through reading that, Terry, I want to ask you a question about it. Go ahead and finish reading that.
It was necessary to drown the Egyptians, so he split the sea and sank them in it. We needed food, and he provided with manna. We were thirsty, and he split the rock, providing us water. Korach's company mutinied against Moses, so the earth opened and swallowed them. The same applies to all other wonders. What is the source of our belief in Moses? The revelation at Mount Sinai. Our eyes saw, and not a stranger's. Our ears heard, and not another's. There was fire, thunder, and lightning. He entered the thick of the cloud. The voice spoke to him, and we heard, Moses, Moses, go tell them the following. Thus, in Deuteronomy 5:4 states, face to face God spoke to you. And in Deuteronomy 5:3 states, and God did not make this covenant with our fathers, but with us who are with us here today. How is it known that the revelation at Mount Sinai alone is proof of the truth of Moses? Moses' prophecy that leaves no apprehension. And I did a teaching on this a few weeks back. Exodus 19:9 states, behold, I will come to you in the thick of a cloud so that the people will hear me speaking to you, and they will believe in you forever. Thus, God explicitly told Moses that the Jews' faith in him was dependent on the revelation at Sinai. I'll stop right there, Scotty. What you got?
Okay. On the first statement you read, the Jews did not believe in Moses because
of wonders.
Because of the wonders. Although the wonders did take place, that wasn't their reasoning for believing in Moses.
No, they believed in Moses because God said, I speak to you in front of them in the cloud, and they're going to hear me speak to you. Thus they will believe in you forever.
Okay.
Their belief in Moses was that they heard the conversation between God and Moses.
See, a lot of people feel that Moses went up on the mount and then he come down with these commandments, these sayings, these responsibilities, and they didn't hear the conversation, but they did hear. I think, what is it? The first two commandments
they're in what we call Exodus 20. They heard the first two sayings. Now, again, it's not 10 commandments. It's Devarim. There are 10 statements there. There's 10 statements, and they heard the first two.
Okay.
And according to the sages, there's some recorded events that happened at that hearing. It is actually stated that they saw his words. They saw the words coming. Then there was some also physical, because of the voice of God coming, there were several things that happened in the physical realm that had to be put back together. because it's like it says, man cannot, see God and live. And even at that point, it's why Israel was told Moses, you go talk to God, because they saw what happened to the world around them.
Right.
When the world heard his voice, things happened.
That's amazing when you begin to think about it, because so many people have this concept that, like I said a second ago, that Moses went up and he and God only navigated these sayings, and then Moses came down and presented them and had to talk the children of Israel into obeying them. But that's not what happened. So I just wanted to clarify that.
No,
Now,
that's not what happened.
Will, if it's okay, Will's got his hand up. Will, you got a question pertaining to what we're into?
Yeah, I'll rely on Terry's memory a lot better, man. But it seemed like, as far as Jesus was said, that he came after the age of the prophets, so he wouldn't qualify. If that's not correct, or if assuming that didn't apply, it's the reason he's not accepted the Messiah is because definitely what was said about him, about how he died and who was, and this, that, and the other. This is all kind of the doings of Paul. But if he was other than the age of prophets, would he have qualified for a prophet, or just all that stuff later that ruled him out?
Deuteronomy 13 will answer your question on that one.
That's why I'm depending on you.
Check out Deuteronomy 13. This class is not here to talk about that. We're learning what God did through Moses, because Moses is the prophet in which Israel will believe in forever, and no other prophet. He is the prophet of the Torah.
Well, is that the time, but the end of the prophets, and Moses is the last prophet?
No, Moses isn't the last. No, there were other prophets that God rose up for a reason. Isaiah and Jeremiah and all of them, they're risen up for a reason. When the prophets wasn't about just telling the future, but a lot of the work the prophets had to do was, when Israel was straying, was to bring Israel back to the Torah. That was a lot of their message. As a matter of fact, it's in Judges, there are several times where it says that Israel had strayed, and God rose up a king against them, and they went into captivity. They cried out, and it says in the Hebrew that he rose up a Mashiach. He sent the Mashiach and gathered them from their captivity and brought them back and reestablished the Torah. It's mentioned time and time again. That's the work of the prophets, is to help keep Israel in the right path with the Torah.
And Terry, if you would mention that text again that you mentioned, that if the people wanted to read this text, that it would clarify.
You're talking about Deuteronomy 13?
Deuteronomy 13. Okay.
Hold on a second.
You want to grab that and just read that real quick?
Yeah, we just covered it here a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. But
I'd like to answer a question too, if I can.
Okay, go ahead while Terry's looking for that.
Let me look at this.
Hey, Terry, I just want to know too that when Moses and Pharaoh were coming out of the desert, it seems to me that the magical tricks, like Moses put his staff there and turned to a snake. Now, was that classed as magic, sleight of hand, or
on what?
When God said to Moses, "Put your staff into the air and it'll turn into a snake."
No, all of that was done for a purpose. Everything that happened in Egypt, every wonder that Moses performed at the word of God in Egypt was to show God, the God of Israel, the Creator, His power over the gods of Egypt. Every wonder he done in there dealt with the gods of Egypt. Each one of them. He was showing his power over those specific gods of Egypt. So when Egypt saw this, then they seen that the hand of God was stronger than their gods.
And at the same time, they had their magicians there doing the same thing.
Yes, they had their magicians trying to do some of the same things, but it didn't work. He kept showing the power of their God was stronger than the pagan gods of Egypt. And every one of them dealt with a specific god, which that's a whole study in itself that maybe we'll do one day. I know Scotty's done some studies in that area.
I love that. I love that.
Maybe Scotty can teach us sometime on that since he studied a lot.
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to. I'll have to set up my little pulpit here.
Okay, guys. Anybody see a set of hands that we want Scotty to teach us on? You know
read
what?
Your text,
he's gonna
read your text, Terry.
Now, who opened up a can of worms?
I guess the can of worms. I heard my little can opener in the background. I wished I had. That's my electric can opener.
Understand when the can opener runs around here, our cats are coming up going tuna.
Yeah. Oh,
all right.
Okay,
Let's see here in Deuteronomy chapter 13. We'll start in verse 2 here. It says, "If there should stand up in your midst a prophet or a dreamer of a dream, and he will produce to you a sign or a wonder. And the sign or the wonder comes about, which he spoke to you, saying, let us follow gods of others that you did not know, and we shall worship them. Do not hearken unto the words of that prophet or that dreamer, for the eternal your God is testing you to know whether you will love the eternal your God with all your heart, with all your soul. And the eternal your God, shall you follow him, and shall you fear him, and keep his commandments, and you shall observe, and to his voice shall you hearken to him, and you shall serve him, and you shall cleave. And the prophet and that dreamer of dreams shall be put to death, for he has spoken perversely against the eternal your God, who takes you out of the land of Egypt, who redeems you out of the house of slavery, to make you stray from the path on which the eternal your God has commanded you to go, and you shall destroy the evil from your midst."
Wow.
There's a lot of key things that are said in that passage.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, sometime Scotty, if you want to do the things with the Egyptians and things like that, maybe we can cover that a little bit more when we do something.
I'd love to. One of the reasons, I know you got some more to read, but
I'm not too far from being done. So no questions.
Okay.
Good.
One of the reasons that I think everybody needs to observe that text in its fullness, don't just do one-liners in that text that you just read. You have to put it all together and then see exactly what's going on. And I remember when I was doing a study on it here a few years back, and I just want to present this real quick. A lot of times when people, let's talk about religious beliefs. They like to jump from religion to religion because and I'm just going to say this right straight out, they don't apply themselves fully to understand the text. So I heard a rabbi today, and I'm trying to, Ronald, what's the rabbi's name? I don't care to give him a plug. You're in his Hebrew class right now. What? Unmute and say his name.
Sorry. Rafi Mullet, Rabbi Rafi Mullet.
Yes. I was listening to him today while I was working, and he said something so profound. Can I put this in here too?
No, go ahead.
He said something so profound, it shook me to the core. And he used a couple of examples, but the one that really struck me was you've seen the movie The Karate Kid. And he was getting bullied and he needed help, and he went to Miyagi to get some help, and Miyagi said, "I'll teach you karate, but the first thing you got to do is paint the fence." And he said, "You can't just paint it anyway. You got to paint the fence. And then you got to wax on and wax off." Well, here was the Karate Kid. He was doing all this work, and it all of a sudden it dawned on him, I'm just his slave. I'm not learning anything. I'm just his slave. And then so Miyagi said, "Danielson, come here." I can't do it as good as he did it, but anyway, I'm trying to give you all this. But he said, "Come here," and he came. He said, "Paint the fence." So Miyagi threw a punch, and the Karate Kid painted the fence, and he blocked the punches. Now, here's what happened to the mindset of the Karate Kid. Prior to that knowledge that he was, in fact, learning something, he thought everything he was doing was nothing, wasn't accomplishing anything. And so it was the movements and the motions meant nothing. But then when he realized that the movements and the motions meant everything, it gave him a whole new understanding and a desire to paint the fence and put the wax on and wax off the car. Did I make sense on that? Did everybody get that? So I just thought that, a lot of people are going through the motions of being B'nai Noach. They're going through the motions. They're just reading, okay, I'm going to do the seven laws. Okay. But until you actually experience the passion of doing them, you'll never know the fullness of what it actually means. So I just throw that out there, Terry. Okay, I'm
gonna bounce off what you just said, and I know those of you who've listened to us, for a while, you've heard me say this, but for those who haven't, I would like to share a story, bouncing off what Scotty just said about not really appreciating the fullness. So many, I don't murder, I don't steal, I don't commit adultery, I don't do this, I don't do that. So therefore, there's not much else for me to do. And they don't go. That's the reason why our commandments that the Creator, blessed be his name, gave us, they're just categorical. There's a lot of definition that comes underneath them.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, when I first was actually, like I said, I'd studied for 7 years, was going to join the Hebrew nation, and until the Creator showed me that wasn't my path. And it was like, when I first started looking at these commandments as something that God wanted me to do personally, and I started studying these from this personal viewpoint, it was just like, I kind of went through and I'd learned the basics, and that's okay. And, and I started learning some of the what's called the details of them. And our house had sold, and we originally put the house up to move to Texas so we could finish up and get to our next step and where we were going to go. And then 18 months or so from there, we were going to move to Israel, because that's a state law, in Israel, that for those who join the Jewish people, outside of the land, you've got to wait 18 months to be able to actually go in and become citizens. That's just a thing with state law there. And we were making that step, and then Creator steps in, shows me that that's not wasn't to be our path. This was our path. And I was studying it, and it was just like, as I was studying it, learning it, house sold, and we were looking for an apartment to move into, because our goal was eventually move down here to Chattanooga, where we're at now. And of course, it took just steps to get here. And we'd stopped at one of those little quick markets and go get a drink and stuff. And generally, like a lot of little quick markets, right there at the door, you have all these little free magazines, that are there. That's free. A lot of them have little be shopper things, like people that are selling stuff and things like that. So and the free magazine things. And so I picked up some of the free apartment guides for the area. Well, in the midst, I get in the car and I go to leave. In the midst of going through them, see which all the ones I got, I noticed I had picked up one of those little shopper things that was 99 cents. It wasn't free. And so most people say, it's just 99 cents. Nobody's going to worry about that. Go on. But because I had been studying the prohibition of theft as a category and the details under it, it screamed at me, it's not yours. Though you picked it up I picked it up by accident. It wasn't on purpose. And so it was amazing, because at the experience I was having with the prohibition. So I went back and I placed it back on the rack, and I went back and I sat down in the car, and I thanked the Creator for showing me the blessing of the benefit of observing the prohibition of theft. Don't take what's not yours. And I was actually thanking him that was actually even on my mind as a human being, something just so simple and trivial. The 99-cent thing, nobody else remember, but that 9 cent, no, that it wasn't the amount, it was the principle. It wasn't mine. And so I returned it. And it was like automatically there was this appreciation of the depth of the commandment.
Yeah.
If I don't know, Scotty, did I say that okay? The appreciation of the depth of the commandment.
Yeah.
In observing, because so there's more to it than just don't steal. There's a lot more to it when we studied this stuff. There's so much to it, but there's an appreciation of, a lot of people complain that our commandments that God gives us mostly are, don't do this. But what they're missing out on is the other side. And that's what I love about Rebbe Nachman of Breslov and the Torah sages is wherever there is a negative commandment, which ours are negative commandments, do not, except for the one on courts. There's a positive side to that. And I understand that. Now, some people want to argue with me that there is no positive, aspects. So I have to argue with that. You go in your car and pull your positive cable off your car. You don't have no power. If you're going to have power, you got to have positive and negative. There's got to be something there together to give you power. And so there's a positive side to the negative. And that positive side is, one, doing the negative, returning the magazine, like Scotty teaches. Doing tzedakah, the opposite of theft, is giving of your time, not just your money, or your time and your talents. And if you're showing, if you're blessed to have like a young person that you're getting to teach how to do something, that's giving tzedakah. So there's a positive side to everything that we do, and we don't have to just dwell on the negative. But our commandments is within the negative. But there's just an appreciation of the commandment when you really sit and meditate on it. There's an appreciation, like Scotty was saying, the appreciation of what you're doing. I wasn't just not stealing.
Right.
I actually had a personal living experience with the living, creator and his commandment. Don't do that. And it was amazing.
Can I got to add one more thing to that, Terry, because that's so true. Now, when you're observing, we're going to call it the negative part, don't steal. Okay. You didn't steal. Nobody really appreciates that. Nobody really sees that. But when you took the magazine back in and you said, hey, I took this by accident, when you returned that, moved it into a positive aspect of that, that's when people take notice and say, hey, there's something different about this guy right here. He was out the door with it. Nobody knew, but he turned around and brought it back. So,
yeah. Let me finish up here real quick. I don't have a lot more to read, then we'll continue our discussions if that's okay.
Okay. Yeah. Will's got his hand up, but we'll
I seen that. I'll come back.
Okay.
A lot more. Yes. I want to complete this right here. And it says here, I'm going to fall back to the sentence before. Behold, I come to you in the thick of the clouds, so that the people will hear me speaking to you, so that they will believe in you forever. It appears that before this happened, they did not believe in him with faith that would last forever, but rather with faith that allowed for suspicion and doubts. Because, see, they believed in the wonders. They didn't believe. And so what replaced the wonders? The faith that they saw God speaking to Moses and hearing him. In section 2 here, it says, thus, those to whom Moses was sent witnessed his appointment as a prophet. And it was not necessary to perform another wonder for them. He and they were like two witnesses who observed the same event together. Each one serves as a witness to his colleague that he is telling the truth, and neither has to bring another proof to his colleague. Similarly, all of Israel was witnesses to the appointment of Moses, our teacher, at the revelation at Mount Sinai. And it was necessary for him to and it was unnecessary for him to perform any further wonders for them. This concept is alluded to in the interchange between God and Moses at the revelation of the burning bush. At the beginning of his prophecy, the Holy One, blessed be he, gave him the wonders to perform in Egypt, and told him in Exodus 3:18, and they will listen to your voice. Moses, our teacher, knew that one who believes in another person because of signs has apprehension in his heart, and that he doubts and suspicions. Therefore, he sought to be released from the mission, saying, they will not believe me, Exodus 4:1, until the Holy One, blessed be he, informed him that these wonders were intended only as a temporary measure until they left Egypt. After they would depart, they would stand on this mountain, and all doubts which they had about him would be removed. God told him, here, I will give you a sign so that they will know that I truly sent you from the outset, and thus no doubts will remain in their hearts. This is what is meant by in Exodus 3:12. This will be the sign that I sent you. When you take the people out of Egypt, you will serve God on this mountain. Thus, we do not believe in any prophet who arises after Moses, our teacher, because of the wonder he performs alone, as if to say, if he performs a wonder, we will listen to everything he says. Rather, we believe him because it's a mitzvah, a deed, a commandment, which we are commanded by Moses, who said, if he performs a wonder, listen to him. Just as we are commanded to render a legal judgment based on the testimony of two witnesses, even though we do not know if they are testifying truthfully or falsely. Similarly, it is a mitzvah to listen to the prophet, even though we do not know whether the wonder is true or performed or magic of sorcery. And it says, therefore, if a prophet arises and attempts to dispute Moses' prophecy by performing a great sign and wonder, we should not listen to him. And that is this deviates from the Torah of the mitzvah stated. Okay, that's in another chapter here, talking about furthermore about Moses's disputing the subject of disputing Moses in the law, the Jewish laws they have to follow. This is therefore, if a prophet arises and attempts to dispute Moses's prophecy by performing great signs and wonders, we should not listen to him. Understand, if the prophet attempts to dispute Moses, then we do not listen to him. We know with a certainty that he performed those signs through magic or sorcery. This conclusion is reached because the prophecy of Moses, our teacher, is not dependent on wonders, so that we could compare these wonders one against another. Rather, we, the Jewish people, saw and heard with our own eyes and ears as he did. To what can this be compared? To two witnesses who gave testimony, comparing a matter to a man who observed the situation with his own eyes. He will never listen to them and will know for certain that they are a false witness. Therefore, the Torah states in what I just read, Deuteronomy 13, 3 and 4, that even if such a sign or wonder will come to you, you should not listen to the words of the prophet. He comes to you with signs and wonders to deny what you saw with your own eyes. We believe in the wonder as an evidence of the prophet's reliability only because of the commandment which Moses commanded us. But therefore, how can a wonder cause us to accept this person who comes to deny the prophecy of Moses, which we saw and heard? Go ahead, Scotty. So that's actually right there, the levels of prophecy. I mean, next week, I would like to finish up these next few chapters. They're kind of short in a 1 week deal if we can. The next week in chapter 3, here's the prophecy and the prophecy and the Torah of Moses. And then we finish up this section with the eternity of the Torah of Moses, which we had some questions on here a few weeks back.
Yeah.
And then we'll go, and when we get through with there, we're going to do our Q&A. But this finishes up this chapter 2 on the levels of prophecy. Go ahead, Scotty.
Okay. Will, did you have your hand up? Did you want to ask a question that pertained to
Yeah. Harry gave me I don't know if the right word in that is a revelation I've never had before. Basically, what he was talking about, the shopper guide you picked up. About a week ago, I was in Walmart in the self checkout, and this lady next to me, I was finishing by the time just right after she did, and there was a $20 bill sticking out of the refund out of the machine. And I called her attention to it. I think that's your money there, lady. And the guy next to me, she was real nice and thanked me stuff. And the guy next to me kind of made a joke about it. But I did it because I knew it was the right thing to do. But after I did it, it was like, it's kind of hard to explain better than what you said. I really felt good about it. I guess in my heart, in all these years, I thought maybe God never talked to me, but maybe he has. I've just not been listening. I didn't know.
Well, see, when we do these things, like we talked about the other night, the separation between what's called the pious of the nations and the wise of the nations. The wise person would do that out of intellectual. Oh, that's just not that's the right thing to do. That's something I wouldn't want to do. But what separates it, moves the person up to the next level is when I saw that it was more than the right thing to do. It is the utterance of God saying, that's not yours. And I do it because the Creator told me that that's not the life I'm supposed to live. And that's where, when we start moving in that realm and we start observing the commandments based on the fact that this is the life the Creator has, told us to live by for our own benefit. And it's for our benefit. And there's a joy that comes from that, it's not a burden. And I'm going to, I'm in yourself, you're saying, I'm doing this because this is what God expects of me. It just opens up an area in your soul that's just been closed for a long time. That's the only way I know how to say it.
So let this evangelist.
I'm not listening.
Let this evangelist throw something in here real quick. So anyway,
all right, now Scotty, let's go.
The beauty of what the discussion is developed into here is when you actually fulfill that, and that you fulfilled that, what you're feeling on the inside of you is the connection. You and the Creator just connected. This is living these, I like calling responsibilities and living these, 7 Noahide laws. Fulfilling them brings a knowledge of the connection of the Creator in your soul that nothing else can do that. You know what I'm talking about?
That's the sages. Actually, the sages teaches us that our connection to God is the observance of what He has told us to do.
Yes.
That, matter of fact, so many people, there's some out here want to run around and do things that they're not commanded to do. There's certain things that the Creator does not want, the Gentile peoples to do that he's given Israel to do. There's a separation there. They have a job, we have a job. And we're both doing our work for the creator. Just like two different employees at work, you know, you got to, say a manager or whatever, or one employee, he's doing his particular job. Maybe he's in a different department, but he's doing his job and you're doing your job. And you go over here and try, and if you try to do each other's job that you wasn't hired to do, then that can cause problems.
Yeah.
And so the sages teaches us greater is he that is commanded and does than he that does and not is commanded. And they teach us that our connection with the creator is through, we cannot be any closer to God. Some people want to like pray themselves and praise themselves into a frenzy and I'm close to God, when all actuality, that is just emotion and zeal rising up within you. That's and because I've been there, I'm not putting down anybody. I can talk because I was there. Praise and worship and those kind of forms was one of my favorite things. But when I started learning to observe the commandments because I was commanded to do it, there's a closeness to God that's hard to explain, because that's our connection. That's our connection. Like you said, our connection point.
Yeah.
Almost like where the trailer hitch meets the ball.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. Fred's got his hand up. Fred, what you got? When Fred first come in, he was muted and had his video off because he was vacuuming. And here he is. He's got his job done. So Fred, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been listening to it for a moment there, so pretty intensive because when I'm listening, I'm working, but it's because I'm not watching, so my ears are tuning in to what Terry's saying. So, and I've been thinking about this for a long time, especially when it comes to when you finally get a taste of the true Torah. The 7 Noahide laws comes from the Torah, so basically it's the word of Shem. So the first thing that came to my mind, which is really gave me revelation back in the day, was Psalm 19, verses 7 and 8. It says, "The teaching of the Lord is perfect, renewing life. The decrees of the Lord are enduring, making the simple wise. The precepts of the Lord are just, rejoicing the heart. The instruction of the Lord is lucid and making the eyes light up." So what Terry was just alluding to when he picked up that magazine and he returned it, and they made him rejoice. See, when you do righteousness, when you do what is right, your heart rejoices. When Scotty, when you do the tzedakah, I feel in your heart, there's a lot of rejoicing because you know there's going to be helping people. This young man's all about the money that he's seen in the register, and he made sure that the woman got it. See, those are called mitzvahs. That's how you know Hashem is speaking to you, to your heart, not just from the Torah, but we say, how does Hashem speak to you? You know what? You can choose the right or wrong. You got the choice. But we know you need righteousness. Sometimes it's not even easy to do that. There, what you're doing is right. Even though no one else is doing it, you're doing it. So, to me, what the explanation is, you can do whatever you want. You can live a life where you want, do whatever you want. That's why we have freedom of choice. But we know that as soon as you start, the Torah is not just overnight. I see we have people in here, it looks like you're around the age of 50 or more. So I imagine we got here probably a different path, but we all ended here. Why? What was we seeking? Just like Moses. He was seeking Hashem. Let me go check up this bush. That's where it started. Same thing probably with all of us. You know what? Once I started reading the scriptures for myself and started asking questions, like Moses was asking Hashem, what do I got to do this? Where do I got to go down the floor? I can't speak, blah, blah, blah. But the point is the more you learn Torah, you want to do righteousness. Now we do stumble and we do make mistakes, but that's what the Torah is for, is to correct you when you're not doing right. So, we look at the Torah like I kind of think of it as like a driver's manual. You know what? You can drive any way you want. You can run through stop signs and do all that stuff. But you know what? If you do what's right and you obey the law, if you run through a stop sign so many times, eventually it's going to catch up to you. That's what the law is supposed to do, is protect you. So why do you want to keep the law? Well, because you enjoy driving. If you just keep having DUIs or wrecks and things like that, well, then you got to use your license, and you might go to jail. You got to pay fines. That's the point of the Torah. Remember the blessings and the curse. The blessing is about 3 inches long. The curse is about 5 miles long. So when you do what is right and just, that's what's that psalm? No, the proverb. The blessing of Hashem maketh rich, and he has no sorrow to it. So by giving tzedakah, helping your neighbor, doing those things that are righteous, that's what Terry's teaching tonight. That's what I wanted to say.
All right. Thank you so much, Fred. Thank you so much. All right, Terry, you have any closing arguments to put inside here?
Arguments. Who's arguing?
No, good. It's all good. It's all good. I felt like it was in this presentation of court trial on the right side. We're giving the right information. So
there's a good video. There's a good video I watched with the Highway Patrol in America, California Highway Patrol, on ethics. Okay, it was about an hour and a half, and when the officer goes in to buy his coffee, the guy behind the counter says, "No, no, 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 that's free because you're doing a service," you know. But the officer said he was going to walk out. The young guy was going to walk out, but his mate, the officer, that senior guy, was teaching him, "Hold it, mate. No, we pay for that because it's important to just for society, you know. Otherwise, yeah, just for otherwise it could get." Every time you go into the coffee shop, you start to expect a free coffee. Oh,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So you're robbing the guys. So it teaches about ethics, how they handle things, and it's really interesting.
Ethics is a great point in this. All
Yeah.
right, Terry, you want to bring us to a close, and I'll.
Well, I'm finished for tonight. Like I said, tomorrow for next week, I want to hopefully that we don't have to, but hopefully do the next section on the prophecy and Torah and Moses next week. And like I said, if you got any questions, get them to Scotty, and we'll have a good Q&A coming up here in a couple of weeks.
And it may take more.
Looking forward to that because those are fun. Those are fun.
It's going to take more than one, maybe even two togethernesses to get all this discussed.
Hey, if we got to do a couple Q&As and just take a break from this and do some stuff, hey, we're nothing's written in stone here on this. This is what we do. You know, Outreach Noah is where we want to help out and things like that. And hey, Scotty, can you pull up on your phone that thing you posted today from Rabbi was it Zalman on the giving? And read that really quick. I read that today from another source, and then here you posted it, and I'm like,
okay, I'll have to see which one I posted that.
You know the one. I don't have my phone in here with me, or I'd pull it up.
I know which one it's on. I've got to get over here to it. I got to get over here.
I know. I said, see now, good. I gave you an impromptu.
You did. So hold on, I'm heading that way.
The toil, the work and the toil and the sweat, and talking about giving.
It says every dollar you earn represents the energy, toil, sweat, and anxiety that you invested into earning it. When you give that dollar to the poor, you give all that and more to God.
I thought that was perfect with the subject of tzedakah.
Yes.
That, whether you give a quarter or a dollar, whatever the amount's not, it's everything it took for you to earn that. You're giving that energy, that toil, everything that came in that to get that. Now you're turning it over to God when you do a good work with it. And I thought that was really good.
Yeah. Me too. Me too.
And I thought of you exactly when I first read it.
So, all right, Terry, I'm going to help us make our descent here.
All righty.
We appreciate everybody that's come this way to spend some time with us tonight, especially those in the Zoom room right here and to be live in the class. If you're watching us via our two Facebook pages, A Simple Walk or B'nai Noach Fellowship, we had some in both of those. We thank you so much for coming this way. And remember, in A Simple Walk, you can share that video with all your social media platform. And in B'nai Noach Fellowship, that's kind of a private group, but there's a different group of people in that Facebook group. So we expect different questions from each one of those formats. And we thank you so much if you're watching it live or watching the recording later on. As we always say, it's brought to you by Outreach Noah. You can go to Outreach Noah on YouTube and find all of the videos, and just go to YouTube and hit Outreach Noah. And when it comes up, hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. And that way you won't miss a live presentation of what we're talking about. And you can ask your questions in there as well, because we've got Ronald and Amuela kind of watches all those things that's going on. And you can also send us an email to outreachnoah@gmail.com and go to the webpage outreachnoah.com. And those of you listening by Power Faith Radio, we thank you so much for coming this way tonight. The Georgia group finally come in and text me. They got 38 with them tonight. So we appreciate them so much. And they enjoyed thoroughly the conversation. So, and I haven't heard anything about the coffee shop group. But we thank everybody that's listening through Power Faith Radio. Terry, thank you so much. You don't just come in from work and on the Wednesday night and pull these books out and, frantically pile them up there. But this is an ongoing from a one Wednesday night to the next. You're constantly building this together so you can present it to us. We thank you so much for spending that time.
I do have one thing I would like to bring up.
Yes.
I got to have about a 45-minute talk with Scotty and our teacher and Pesach in Safad, Israel this morning. We had a video chat, and Scotty, he's looking really good. He's looking real good. And but he was sharing with me about the life that they're having to live right now over there. And we're things that we don't think about it, over here. We're, maybe like Ronald, y'all in Australia and in Canada, we don't think about these things here in our respective lands. But there's some people that are experiencing a lot of anxiety because Safat is not too far from the Lebanese border where there is some of the war is going on. And he was telling me this morning about how all through the day and all through the night, you hear fighter jets flying overhead. Just you hear them. And then from time to time, you hear the explosions. Boom, where the bombs are dropping. You hear the gunfire going off in the distance. And how old's Pesach? He's 76, 77, somewhere in there. He, of course, not having the energies and stuff like he did as a young man, there's not a lot he can do. But he said there's a lot of the women there in Safat get together and they cook the Shabbat meals, and then they take them to the soldiers out in the field, so they can have a Shabbat meal in the field. And so he kind of helps out with that, helps getting food for them, and actually has made some deliveries. And he was telling me that here not too long ago, he made a delivery up to Lebanese border where there's some fighting going on, and it had been quiet. And he made a delivery of Sabbath meals to the soldiers up there. And they stopped him several miles away and had him turn around and go about an hour away. And then another soldier went in another direction an hour around to meet him. And they picked up the meals because there had just been fresh fire going on up in that area where he was headed at. So keep the Jewish people in the land of Israel in your prayers as they're having to deal with this stuff every day and every night, the sounds of war, even though maybe in their area it's not going on. Israel's a small country. You can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear it. And especially, the Jewish people that live outside of the land in the different countries with the anti-Semitism that's building up. Keep, the Jewish people in your prayers and your thoughts and for protection for what's going on. But he shared with me some of the anxieties that some of the people are having from hearing constantly the machines of war going on, even though it may not be in their neighborhood, they can hear it. Yep. And it's every day and every night. And I thought, I wanted to bring that up tonight, give y'all something to, to pray about for the nation of Israel and its people.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, everybody. We'll look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.